The moment Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, something strange happened. The league suddenly had a superstar everyone wanted to watch. But at the exact same time, the conversation around her became more divided than ever. Some fans saw the future of women's basketball. Others saw a rookie receiving attention that veteran players had spent years fighting for. And then came the hard fouls, the criticism, the heated moments, the endless debate. So what was really happening? Was it jealousy? Was Caitlin being treated differently? Or was something much bigger happening inside the WNBA? To understand the answer, we have to go back to the beginning. When Caitlin Clark arrived from Iowa, she wasn't an ordinary rookie. She entered professional basketball with an enormous spotlight already following her. Millions had watched her in college. Her long-range shots had become viral moments. Her games had attracted massive audiences. And suddenly, the WNBA had something it had never experienced at this scale before. A rookie who already had a huge mainstream following. But that attention came with a price. Every mistake was analyzed. Every foul became a headline. Every argument became a social media debate. And every time Caitlin was knocked to the floor, millions of people had an opinion. For veteran players, this created a complicated situation. Imagine spending years building a professional league, playing in front of small crowds, fighting for better facilities, better salaries, better travel, and more media attention. Then a rookie arrives, and suddenly the entire sports world is watching. That doesn't automatically mean the veterans hated her, but it does create tension, because attention is a limited resource. And Caitlin was receiving a lot of it. Then came the physicality. Caitlin quickly discovered that professional basketball was not college basketball. Defenders attacked her aggressively. She faced physical pressure. She was trapped and double-teamed. And some plays sparked major controversy among fans and commentators. One hard foul could turn into thousands of arguments online. One collision could dominate sports headlines for days. And something interesting happened. The more people argued about Caitlin, the more people talked about the WNBA. And the more people talked about the WNBA, the more valuable the attention became. This is where the story gets much bigger than Caitlin Clark. Because Caitlin didn't simply enter the WNBA. She entered at a moment when women's basketball was already growing, and she became one of the biggest accelerators of that growth. Suddenly, games involving Caitlin were being watched by people who had never followed the WNBA before. Tickets became harder to get in certain markets. Merchandise became a major talking point. Television networks had a new storyline. Brands had a new superstar. And the league had something every professional sports organization wants: attention. But here's where the story gets complicated. Caitlin wasn't the only reason the WNBA was growing. Veteran stars had already spent years building the foundation. Players like Diana Taurasi, Aja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and many others had helped establish the league's modern era. They had played before massive Caitlin-level attention existed. They built careers when the spotlight was much smaller. So when Caitlin arrived, she wasn't entering an empty room. She was walking into a room that other women had spent decades building. And that's why the tension surrounding her became so fascinating. Caitlin represented the future, but the veterans represented the history that made that future possible. And then there was money. This may be the most important part of the entire story. The WNBA has spent years fighting for better compensation and better business opportunities. Now the league was experiencing an explosion of interest. More attention means more commercial value. More commercial value can eventually mean better opportunities for players. So Caitlin's success wasn't necessarily a threat to everyone around her. It could actually become an opportunity for everyone. And that's the irony. The same attention that created resentment could ultimately help the entire league. But there was another problem. Caitlin Clark became so famous that sometimes the conversation stopped being about the WNBA. It became about Caitlin. Every game became Caitlin Clark versus the league. Every hard foul became they're targeting Caitlin. Every veteran disagreement became they hate Caitlin. And that narrative can become dangerous because we don't actually know what every player thinks. Competitive basketball is physical. Players trash talk. Players compete. Players disagree. And not every hard foul is evidence of hatred. But at the same time, the reaction to Caitlin clearly revealed something important. The WNBA had entered a new era, an era where one player could generate enormous attention, and where every moment involving her could become a national story. That's the real Caitlin Clark effect. Not that she single-handedly saved the WNBA, not that every veteran secretly resents her, but that she became a massive catalyst for attention at exactly the moment women's basketball was ready to explode. And perhaps the biggest twist is this. Caitlin doesn't need everyone to like her. She doesn't need every veteran to praise her. She doesn't even need the media to agree about her. Because every time people argue about Caitlin Clark, they are still talking about women's basketball. Every debate brings more eyes. Every controversy creates another conversation. And every conversation introduces another person to the league. Maybe that's the real reason her arrival has been so powerful. She didn't just become another player. She became a story. And in professional sports, stories create attention. Attention creates business. And business can change an entire league. So, do WNBA players actually hate Caitlin Clark? Maybe some genuinely dislike her. Maybe some simply dislike the attention surrounding her. Maybe others respect her completely while trying to beat her every night. The truth is, it's probably more complicated than any headline suggests. But one thing is undeniable. Caitlin Clark changed the conversation. And whether you love her, criticize her, or simply want to see what happens next, you are watching. And that's exactly what every sports league wants. Because the Caitlin Clark era isn't just about one player. It's about what happens when a superstar walks into a league, and suddenly, everyone starts paying attention.